when they're little, it's like the little worries, right? Like
Yes.
they're teething and this and that.
And then as
like,
they get older, it's different
development.
worries.
Yeah. Then they start driving.
Yes.
Then there's
and
that.
then you can't
I
sleep.
think every goal and every move that you make has your child in mind.
Just protecting them and doing better for them and helping them. It's all about them.
Welcome to the Limitless Tribe, where two badass women build businesses, chase dreams, and keep it way too real. I'm Kat.
And I'm Mel. We're the founders of Powerhouse Admins and the Limitless Tribe, and we're inviting you into the messy middle, the mindset shifts, and the CEO glow-ups we never see coming.
Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, today our episode is about motherhood. The good, the bad, the ugly, a bit about our experiences, and a little bit about giving yourself some grace to really lead this really important and difficult role that you're navigating. So motherhood is beautiful, right? It's one of the most rewarding things that we ever do. But it's also messy, it can be chaotic, it can be exhausting, it can be overwhelming emotionally and physically. So it's okay to have all of those emotions and still be an amazing mom. It's just part of the process. So even more if you're a good mom is the more that you're stressing all of these things, because we have this unrealistic expectation of being like this perfect mom. So if you're feeling the common things of being overwhelmed or stressed or anxious or not sure if you're doing a good job, you think that that's bad and that now you're not doing a good job, but it's just part of it.
Yeah, it's comes with, a huge weight that we are put on ourselves and that also others put on us, right? There's so much responsibility with being a mom and raising a child and, raising them for society, because we're not just raising them for us, right? We're raising them to go out into the world and be adults and be able to interact with other adults and with other people and be responsible. So there's so much pressure there with, okay, how am I going to raise my kid? Am I raising them for me and the life that, I have in this home? Or am I raising them to bring them out into the world and to be a responsible adult and a responsible human and treat others kindly and fairly and, be considerate and compassionate and have empathy? It's so much.
Yeah.
So many things.
Building a human.
You are. It's so many things, and you never know if you're doing it right, or and then I feel like other people, they all have their own opinions, and they throw those on you as well, and then you're doing one thing, and then everyone else is always doing something better, right? Oh, my kid is this, my kid is that, and you're like, my kid's not walking yet, or my kid's not, right? And you're panicking. So it's just making sure that we're setting those expectations for ourselves and kind of just how we go with the flow and what we're doing with our children, and not putting so much pressure on ourselves with how we're raising our kids and what we're doing, but also having enough pressure where we're making sure that they're raised right for society. So it's just it's very emotional and a hard process.
I feel like people fall into one of the two categories. They either love their kids so much that they raise them like they're going to live with you forever, and you love them unconditionally, so what they do or don't do is almost irrelevant because you're going to love your kid regardless, and they just let them run kind of
wild animals.
Unsupervised, I don't think you're necessarily a control as a parent, but you're like the train tracks,
Yeah, you have to guide them. That's your job, is to guide them and teach them and hopefully teach them well.
Yeah. Well, and part of it is what you teach, right? Because the kid is going to take on their own things. But I really feel like motherhood is so, so important, and generally parenting, right? Because you are building this human that is going to go out into society after they leave your house. I think parents sometimes feel like they're always going to be with you, but it's actually such a short period that they are. I mean, maybe 25 years if they stay through college. And then the next 50 to 75, they're out, And each person, I truly believe, each person carries a certain energy. So when you go out into the world, it's like you have a bubble of everybody that you interact with that you affect in some way. Work, personal, even when you go out and hold a door for someone,
Yes.
It's like a little positive thing for that person, or
Yeah,
to
just
compliment
like
someone.
thank yous and please and thank you and excuse me, like just having manners
Yes.
is a big thing.
And all of those interactions and all of that energy that now surrounds this person affects the world, right? Because then if you make that person's day, now that person spreads a little bit of joy in their circle, which is separate from this one. And it just like spreads, I used to always think that when new generations come, I thought, oh, like the newer generations will at least be better and not bring some of the bad stuff, right, from older generations. And then I realized that my husband actually told me, he's like, yeah, but the parents are raising 2 to 3 humans who then go out and now it's 2 to 3 people versus just one.
Yeah.
I was thinking like the newer generation will just be different, but now I'm like, oh god, like if you have 3 or 4 and you raise them badly, that's 3 or 4 humans out there spreading
that are spreading that
Yeah.
negative vibe and negative energy instead.
So it's just such an important role for more reasons than I think we realize, and it's impactful way past your house, way past your circle. You don't know who this child will become, right? And what the train tracks and like the guidance that we give them is only part of it, right? That's why we hope, because the child still comes with their own like DNA, and they are affected by other people also, not just you. So it's going to be family members, school, maybe TV, and all of those pieces form that child.
Yes.
And even if you give good guidance, there's also the interpretation of it. So it might be interpreted differently, has a different reaction. So I think, yes, it's a super important role, but also have some grace, because it's not 100% on you.
No,
There's so
it's
many,
not. There's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah,
and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves already with everything in life, and then now we're putting all these expectations on ourselves about how we're going to raise our kid too.
And I feel like you don't know until they're older.
Yeah.
Because they're kids, and they could be like a good kid, but they're still a kid, right? They're not yet, maybe have responsibilities, or maybe they're not working yet, or maybe they're not dealing with other adults yet. Like, you don't know how they're actually going to be as a person until they become that.
Yeah, they have opinions, but a lot of it is what you're like showing them at home, right? And then all of a sudden now they're out in the world and they're learning new things, and their opinions change, and now they have their own real opinion, like things that they're bringing out themselves, and you can't control that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's on them at that point.
So the good is, right, you get to impact this person. So even though they make these other ideas and these other opinions, what you've taught them becomes like core stuff that it might not be the opinion they stay with, but it's a piece of what they bring with them, right? It still is kind of in them, hopefully, and hopefully it was good. But it's an incredible connection to have with your child, because this is like, I know people say like your heart outside your body. It really is that. Like, this is the most important person in your life, and the one that you, it's just like your whole purpose is around this person. I think when you have
grew inside of you.
Yeah.
Most mothers, there are mothers that couldn't do that, and that's fine, and you still love your kid exactly the same. But I feel like that's just such a special bond and connection, that you have with this person.
Yes,
it's on it. I don't even think you can explain it sometimes. Like, it's just so deep.
Yeah, it is, and it really transforms your life at whatever point it hits, right? And we had it already, so I feel like it really sets the tone for your purpose in life, pretty much. It becomes like your purpose to make sure that this tiny human is happy, that they're healthy, and that they're growing up to be that way, and that they're, that they can hit their goals in the future, that they could become good adults. So it's an incredible experience, right? It really does change your life. And then, like Mel was saying, like watching them from babies to grow into like little kids, to grow into like teenagers, and where they start to become like who they really are. And as they get older, more of that personality comes out. It's just amazing. And it's crazy to think that they were like babies, and then now to see them like almost adults.
Yeah, like working and, obviously college or after college, and then having a job, and you're like,
yeah, it's incredible. So it's just a transformative moment where it really redirects your life and your purpose to make sure that not only is this child the best version of themselves, but that means you have to be the best version of yourself to really pass that on to your kids. Sometimes, I don't know if you've ever heard, like, the old school way was like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
but that's not what kids do. They're going to do as you do. So even if you have insecurities or things that you're still working on, even if you're trying to teach your kid differently, if that reflects or it shows, they're going to notice the insecurities a lot louder than the positive you're trying to show them.
Yes.
So it's so important to really work on yourself and try to heal as much as you can so that you could be that best version when you start.
Yeah. It's exhausting. I feel like you have this child and you don't realize how exhausting it's going to be. You know it's going to be hard, right? And I think every parent worries. Like, I know as a mom, when I was pregnant, I worried. I worried about the pregnancy. I worried about then, you know, when I had her, how that was going to go, and if I was going to do a good job, and if I wasn't, and if she was going to be healthy, if she was going to be happy. So many worries, and it's exhausting.
Yeah, and they just transform because like, when they're little, it's like, you know, the little worries, right? Like they're teething and this and that.
And as
like,
they get older, it's different worries.
Yeah, then they start driving.
Yes.
Then there's
then you can't sleep because, you know, they're out on the road and you don't know.
Yes.
You know, so it's an exhausting process of being a mom, and there's also a lot of guilt and a lot of, you know, things that come along with that. I feel like you try to do your best and you always, you know, you say things and do things with great intention, but it doesn't, you always have that guilt of, am I doing enough? Am I, you know, there enough for them? Did I help them enough? Did I say enough? Did I do enough for them? And it's just, you never feel like you are enough. Are you a good enough mom? And I feel like just being there and trying is like enough, right? That's the whole point. Like, it's not, you're never going to be everything. You're never going to be able to do everything and be everything. But as long as you're trying, that should, you know, you did what you could do. But no matter how much you say, no matter how much you do, you always have that guilt, and you never know how your child is going to interpret certain things. So I feel like you have kids and then you try your best to raise them right, to say the right things, to do the right things. You tell them, you give them guidance. I know even with Victoria, like, I tried to give her so much guidance, and I tried to always like be positive and push her in the right direction. But some things that I said just didn't sit right or didn't hit right, and sometimes she interpreted it differently than what I meant it, and it would cause like an argument, and I was like, I didn't mean that. Like, I'm just trying to like say and do the right thing, you know, but you just never know.
There's even stories of people where, like, let's say somebody went on a vacation and they couldn't take the child for whatever reason. It was either maybe just a parent vacation, right? Like a honeymoon or whatever, just for you guys to reconnect, or it was a place where you couldn't take a child. It was something like that. And then the child stayed home with grandparents, loving grandparents, like, and then the parents went off, and sometimes the kid interprets it as like they've been abandoned.
Yeah.
Yes, and even though that was never the case, it was just a normal vacation, they actually grow up with that little thing. You know, so it's just,
and that's not on you,
right? It's just not controllable, you know.
I feel like those are things that you just, you know, you never intended to hurt anyone or to make them feel any specific way, but it's just one of those things that's how they took it, and you have to accept that. And I feel like that's the other hard part, right? Like, I know when Victoria, my daughter, she started therapy, and we sat down one day, and the therapist was like, okay, share with your mom what you said to me. And she shared a scenario, and I was like, wait, that's not, I didn't do that. But that was her interpretation of it, and I had to accept it, you know, and I had to say, you know, I sat there and I was like, I'm so sorry that, you know, you felt that way. That's definitely not what I intended or what I expected. And, you know, I think we healed a lot through that process, but there's so many things that I learned that I was like,
and both are true, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it could,
because it was hurtful to me. Like, I was hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hurt.
It has to be hard just to hear because it's such a hard job, you know. And I feel like when you're a kid, you put your parents on like this huge pedestal, so they're perfect. So that everything that they do wrong, I feel like it's magnified. Yeah, and then for that situation, like, both are true, right? It didn't maybe happen that way, and that was not your intention. But at the same time, that's how it was received.
Exactly.
And it did affect her, and both can be.
And I had to accept that. Yeah, I had to accept that. And as much as it hurt, because it did hurt me, like, you know, the conversation and the things that she was saying were like, kind of mind blowing, and I was just like, "Ooh, this is hard for me to digest." But at the same time, I had to accept that was her take on it, and that's how she received it, and we had to grow from there.
It also, I think, being able to listen and like take it in lets her know that it's a safe space, and she can continue to do that. Because if you react negatively and you have this big blowout, then she's not going to be able to have those conversations with you later.
No, it definitely, I think that's where things like really shifted, and she was able to like, start telling me more things and like speak more openly to me, because she was like internalizing a lot and like hiding a lot, and even like when her therapist was like, okay, well, this is the time to share, like we've spoken about it, your mom's here, she wants to hear what you have to say, she was very hesitant to like open up and say anything. And I was like, Victoria, like, what is it? You can tell me anything, like I'm here for you. And it took a lot for her to like actually get the words out. But once we had that conversation, and I was like, again, it took me back, and I was like, ooh, started crying, and I was like, okay, this isn't about me, right? And I had to really like dig deep for that part, that this isn't about me, and whatever I'm feeling, I need to eat it right now, because this is about her, and I need to let her see that I understand, I accept this, and I apologize, and this is not how it was meant, and kind of go from there. But it was hard.
Well, actually, I think also bringing it to light. And you may not always have the opportunity to do that with the person. But even with a different person, as long as you can just say it, I think when it's in the dark, that moment probably felt like a lot bigger to her. Mm-hmm. And it starts to like get a lot more negative things that go with it. But when you bring it to light, especially if you could do it with the person, and you can get some clarity on their intention, I think it starts to minimize it. Like it's not that your feelings weren't valid, but now you get other versions, and it's just kind of helps you kind of heal it faster.
Yeah, I agree. It does. It's hard. Having kids is hard.
It is. So Mel and I, right? You guys know we both had kids pretty young. So I had a baby at a month before I turned 21. Right? And I was so terrified. Nobody in my family has had kids early. Like, I don't even think outside of marriage at that point,
Yeah.
Like the older family members, right?
Mine either. First one.
So when that happened, I was like, oh my God. I felt like a disgrace to the family.
Yeah, there's so many emotions. You feel like oh, it's a lot.
So I lived with my mom, right? And I wasn't really close to my dad. So I told my mom. She was definitely disappointed, but supportive. And then my dad, I was so scared to tell him that I sent him a letter. Because I couldn't
get the words out.
Well, I didn't want to deal with you being negative or like telling me that this is bad, or I just didn't have room for that at that time. Like, this is it, and I have to deal, and I don't.
And I'm already scared, and I'm already nervous, and I don't.
So here's a letter so that you are aware. When you're ready and you have dealt with your stuff, you can let me know. Because I was scared to like have that, because I was just so scared at that time, And obviously picked a horrible person.
Me too.
So I have two mom guilts. One, that I was not a good enough mom, because I think most moms have that. And there's obviously things that I would have liked to have done differently. And two is a huge one, is that I feel guilt for picking this bad person.
Same.
Like this, and if you don't have kids, I know that we know the importance of picking a partner, but I want to re-emphasize that.
It's so important.
Even if you don't think you're going to have kids as this person, and might sound, and I know it's a little bit extra, but people like say, even when you're going to have sex with somebody, even if this is not going to be, you think it's not your person, if it's not, and you're going to do that, be like extra careful.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have kids with somebody that you didn't vet and plan and be pretty confident, as much as you can be, that this is going to be a good father for your child.
Because you don't realize, I feel like, I was really young too, like you don't realize all the things at that time that come along with this. Like, it's going to affect their life forever.
Yes.
And it's going to affect your life forever as well, because until they're 18 and even older,
Yeah.
you have to deal with this person too.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And if they're a good dad, even if it doesn't work out with you, I feel like they continue to be
a good
dads,
dad.
you
Yeah.
know? So, and honestly, that's what's important to me, because the relationship, that was a terrible relationship. I am grateful I had it, because I learned so much, and also I got my daughter. But I'm not resentful about the relationship. I am resentful that that happened to my daughter, and that she had to have that experience, which was similar to mine, which is worse, right? Because I already had a little bit of that, like, trauma of not having a dad. So the last thing I wanted was to have that happen to her. So it's something you were like constantly like healing from. So I'm still working on those too. I'm a little bit better with the mom one.
I still apologize to Victoria
Yeah.
every now and then for
I do too.
for that too.
And they're very nice. They're like, you didn't give me trauma. I'm like, I did. You may not notice it yet, but I did. And then the dad one is just like, it hurts to see how much it hurts her. And I wish I could have picked different for her. But at the same time, I know that if I had picked it different, I wouldn't have this version of my daughter, you know? So it's really a tough thing. But being a single mom, I think, automatically changes everything. Especially, we were so young. I think I was in college, living at home, and immediately now I felt the instant urge of like, I need to be better human, make more money, better at work. I just needed to be better at everything so that I could give this child a better life. So I worked extra hard, you know, and I think every goal and every move that you make has your child in mind, you know?
That's just protecting them and doing better for them and helping them, and you know, all about them.
Yes. So and I feel like back then, I don't know if it wasn't talked about as much, or just I didn't have access, and I didn't have friends with kids, because my friends were in college and just young. So there wasn't so much conversation like there is now about parenting well, and about what to do and how to raise them differently, and all that stuff, or even like talking about the struggles, because there wasn't anybody that was going through that at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was really big for me. And then I had, thank God, help from my mom, like time-wise, where she was able to watch my daughter while I was at work, or you know, an occasional pickup here or there, like from school. Generally, I did that, or I would get a bus and things like that. But if there was an emergency, I had a person, which was really helpful. But my mom wasn't working, right? She was retired, so I felt like I had to be the breadwinner, like on steroids, for the three of us. Because I didn't want to just make enough money to survive. I wanted to make enough money to be comfortable, and then later be able to give her the things that I wanted to give her. So it was kind of like, it's almost like you have to pick between being very present or getting your family ahead.
Yeah.
And that was really tough, because if I was more present, I would have done less at work. I would have had less promotions, less raises, and we wouldn't have been in the place that we are now. But then I feel like the choice I made was right, but it still hurts that I had to, that I wasn't as present as I would have liked.
Yeah.
You know? So that is you know, things that I deal with. But I love like how parenting is now. And I don't know, like even like the Snoop Dogg, like what's that, like I Am song that he has now for kids. Like I see so many videos of parents like instilling that confidence in their kids,
and saying affirmations and
Yes,
stuff. Like
yes.
I never saw that, right?
No.
And we didn't have that when our kids were little. And you see these videos, and the girls are like, "I am beautiful, and I am smart, and I am funny," and I'm like, "Oh, I wish, like, that's amazing."
But I we didn't have that, or I didn't know it.
I didn't either.
But I feel like I couldn't instill confidence and even like self-love or self-worthiness because I didn't have
it either.
Yeah. So if you're already a mom and you're healing from these things, I want to give you like, I guess, hope, or like a positive, right? I think you can grow along with your kids, and that is still valuable, and that is still going to impact them.
Yeah.
And like you've mentioned it before, like you're not the same mom now that you were when she was young. And your kids see that too, and I think there's a value in them seeing you change.
I do too.
And improve and grow and work on yourself. Like, there's value in that because they're going to have flaws that they need to work on and do. So,
no, and I feel like that's helped her heal a lot too. Like the things that not just things that we've gone through together, but just pieces of herself, I think, have healed with seeing me grow and be different. And, change how I act and the things that I do and how I speak about myself have helped her.
Yeah.
And you can
and
see
you,
that. No, they definitely helped me.
Because we learn from them too.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And yeah, a lot of it I learned, going through everything that I went through with her with weight and, not fat, the body positivity and all this stuff. It's changed me because, I'm very cautious of the things that I say now in front of her, which have then made me say the nice things about myself, which now I start believing. So it works out.
Yeah. So
it has definitely
look
helped.
into those moments where you learn from them too.
Yeah, it has definitely helped. And similarly, like I had Victoria, obviously 19 years old. I was supposed to start college, found out I was pregnant, not from another great person. Had a lot of, I went through a lot of domestic violence issues. So when I got pregnant, I was with somebody and I was scared, right? I was with this person, I was scared and I was getting abused and it was just a lot of things. But then after I had her, I was like, I need to do better for her. Like, I can't stay in this. This is not how I want to raise her. This is not the environment I want her in. I want to protect her and I want to love her and I want, what's best for her.
I've heard that's a big reason why some people have left domestic violence. It's not even for themselves. It's
it was definitely not for me.
Yeah.
I was scared to leave for myself. But once I had her, I was like, oh, no, can't do this. Like, she needs to be okay.
Yeah.
And that was my motivation to get out of the situation, which, obviously helped me too. But I just wanted, I wanted better. I wanted better for her. And similarly, like, I was so scared to tell my parents when I got pregnant. I was so scared. I was like, oh, they're going to, I had already moved out. And I was like, they're going to just find out and they're going to hate me and they're going to be so disappointed in me. And this is just, I didn't even want to tell them. And I didn't tell them. They found out. I feel like I was terrible. I was in such a bad place.
How far along were you when they found out?
I think I was about 5 or 6 months. I was in such a bad place and I was hiding from them and I was just like, I didn't want them to see me and I was working full time and it was a horrible situation. Like, I was working, her dad was doing nothing and then taking my money. And so we were like super poor and living with his mom. It was just the whole thing was just horrible. And I literally lived in New York. I would walk home from work in the snow, miles. When I tell you, like, miles, like 20 miles. It was like walking, I felt like I was walking forever in the snow, in the cold, frozen, pregnant, starving, because I barely had money to eat. Like, just bad. When I tell you bad, it was bad. And then to come home and then be yelled at and fighting, and it was just, then I feel like I caused so much, like, they're in the womb and you have to be like calm and things should be nice and you should be in a good situation. So then I had all the guilt from that, right? Because now I'm like, she was born and I'm like, I probably messed her up so bad because I was always yelling and we were always fighting and there was always I had so much mom guilt. Like, the mom guilt on top of everything else was traumatizing.
I get that because I didn't even watch. I used to love scary movies, and I didn't even watch scary movies while pregnant or breastfeeding.
You were scared, probably, right?
I want them to feel the scared feeling.
Oh.
I didn't even drink coffee, I don't think I even drank soda.
When I tell you that these are all the things, right, that I suffered mom guilt from, because, okay, so back, I didn't tell my parents. Let's go back to that. Didn't tell my parents. My father actually showed up at the door.
At work or your house?
At the house that we lived at. Showed up at the door, and when I opened it, he just looked at me and he said, "You're pregnant?" And I said, "Yes," and I started bawling.
So did he show up because he had heard, or he showed up for something else and then found out?
I think he had heard, but he also wanted to check on me because they were very worried about me. And they had kept trying to reach out, and I kept trying. It was that thing where you feel so guilty about the situation you're in. They warned me. They told me, like, this is not good. You should not be with this person. They gave me all the warnings and all the outs, and I was like, I know best, and I did this, and I wound up just in a terrible situation.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you imagine on the parent side?
No, now I do.
How scary it is when they become that age, right? Because they're doing such horrible things in this scenario, right? That is so bad for them, and you can't do anything.
No, you can't control it, and you want to, but you can't. Like now with Victoria, I'm like, oh my god, because I can't. I see like what I put them through, and it was horrible. So yeah, he showed up at the door and he was like, "You're pregnant?" And I said, "Yes." And he was like, "Can you come home?" And I said, "No," because I felt like I couldn't. It was two things, right? I didn't want to give in to they were right and I should be home, and that's probably a better place for me to be. But it was also I couldn't leave this person because I was really scared to leave this person. So it was just a crap show. And then, the yelling and stuff and feeling like I ruined her with all that. Like, it was just really bad. So when I finally did leave because I wanted to protect her, again, I felt terrible because I was like, now I put this person in her life forever. And this is the person that's gonna, that she has to call dad. And I was so guilty. Everything just felt like so much. And I think I cried pretty much every night about that. I was like, my pregnancy wasn't great. The whole experience was traumatic. Even the day I gave birth was traumatic, like everything.
So when you left, how were things with him when you moved back?
Oh, when I moved out of the house, his house? Oh, they were terrible. I mean, I had restraining orders. We were in court. He had gone to jail.
Thank God.
Because there was a warrant out for his arrest, and then he was out on parole. Sorry, getting this wrong. He was out on parole. Great person. Again, I come from a very good
The universe is like, this girl's not getting it.
I
Help her get this guy.
I feel like I need to say that. Like, I come from a very good family. I don't even know how I wound up here. And he was on parole. I picked the worst person. And then he wound up violating his parole, going to jail, which was actually a blessing for me. But then he came out, and it just, everything started again. So he came out of jail, and then he wanted, we were fighting because he had given me full custody, full custody. But then he still had rights for visitation, and it was just a freaking nightmare. And then I had a restraining order against him. He violated the restraining order. Apparently all the cops where I lived knew him, were friends with him, and they kind of gave him a pass. So when they would show up about the restraining order, they would be like, he was never here. And I was like, he's right in front of you, right in front of me. And they were like, no, he's not here. Just go back inside. And then they would tell him to leave. And then it was just continuous. So it was terrible. It was a terrible situation. I had a ton of guilt. And I feel like as much as I then tried to, because I wanted to work to get us a better situation, and I wanted to be a good mom, and I wanted to raise her with all the things, and I felt like such a terrible parent for how things had gone. So then I just worked my ass off, and I just dove myself into, okay, we have to climb the ladder and we have to get ourselves out of this situation, because I did have good parents and they were there. And if I needed someone, they would do pickups and drop-offs, and they would help me with all the things. I remember my daughter went to school one day with her hair in 4 different ponytails all over her head because my dad took her to school and dressed her. She had a Halloween shirt on. It was not Halloween. So she had an orange and white shirt on with bright pink pants.
Oh my God.
And four ponytails, and the teacher would do her hair when she got there because of this. But they helped, right? They were trying, and they did their best, and they helped me. But I didn't want to depend on them. I felt like I got myself in this situation. I need to support us. I need to move us forward. It is not their responsibility. So I just worked really hard, and then I had the guilt of I'm always working, and I'm not there. So it was just it was a lot.
I felt that too with the responsibility, because I felt like you see other stories how people have kids really young, and then they just dump them on the grandparents,
Yes.
and then they're living like if they're just
that's not their kid.
Yeah. So mine actually ended because he cheated, and I found out. I forget how I found out. But it was with a coworker.
Oof.
And it was a coworker that he told me he had to go to a baby shower for. And we bought a gift for the baby shower. It was not his baby. But still, I bought a gift for this baby shower for the person he was with. And he would go on like work trips and be out for the weekend. And I don't know. You know what happened? I never remember. The girl he was cheating with forwarded his calls to herself. So when I called him, she answered. And then she was like, no, I forget what she said. She was like, oh, no.
But she knew that you guys were together?
I don't know. Not sure. She claimed she didn't.
Which,
So,
it's still like, I
it's
put more
possible.
responsibility on the man than anything, but...
So she was like, oh, no, like, I was just, I was messing around with his phone, and I did it by accident, but it just didn't feel right. And she wouldn't tell me. And then I called her again. I'm like, listen, like, we're engaged. We live together. We have a daughter. Like, as a woman, can you just tell me? And she was honest. And I had her, like, I looked at the phone bills, and as I had it was my account, and it had all the calls, like, constant calls, so many calls. He denied it till the end. She was crazy. Like, I don't know. I think she maybe knew we lived together, but he maybe told her that we weren't together, and then we were just there for the baby.
Who knows?
So whenever people say like, "Oh, we're not together, we just live together because of the house, because of this," or no, you let me know when you're not living together.
Exactly.
I think that's always a lot.
You need to heal.
Yeah. So, and we got separated, and I tried still to like think maybe we can fix it. Because
you have a baby.
Yeah, and I didn't think I had been the best version of myself, so I thought it's not that it's my fault, but I would like the opportunity to be better. But I didn't want to go back and like nothing happened. I wanted to like separate. You live over there, I live over here. We redate and start from the beginning and fix it. He just wanted to come back like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But talking about being broke, like that time where I was with him, I have never been as broke as that time.
Oh yeah, me neither.
And it's not to my daughter. It wasn't so much about giving her things. It was about like stability.
Yeah.
Like knowing that she's gonna be like safe and that there's never gonna be like a problem with like losing a house or anything like that. And both of ours left us with debt.
Oh,
I think yours was way worse, but mine, he was terrible with money, and I was the budgeter. But every time I budget, I'd be like, oh my god, like we have a little bit. If he'd find something that needed to be spent on.
He took my daughter's communion money, baptism money. So we had her baptism. She was baptized, and she was already born. We weren't living together. We had a baptism, and then after the baptism, everyone went to dinner that we hosted. I hosted this dinner. We weren't living together at this point. I hosted this dinner. He took all the envelopes and left, and stole all her baptism money that she had made. That was for her.
Yeah.
This is
he's number one.
when I tell you if we're comparing.
No. He makes mine look good, which is so hard to do, but
I can laugh about it now, but
no.
it was the most traumatizing experience.
Mine was credit card debt. Like he wrapped up
did
that,
that too.
and then we agreed because it was kind of both of our things. At the end, we're like, okay, we're gonna split this, and I didn't need the money so much for her, so I was like, you make these payments for the debt, and like very little for her. Didn't do anything, and then he just wasn't present. I didn't have any of that horrible stuff, which is better.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
he wasn't really present for her, and he lived local, and finance was like nothing. He didn't contribute. So it was just really hard to do alone. I feel like motherhood is already so hard.
Oh, it is.
And then alone, it's like double.
Yes.
So do not recommend.
No. Pick the right person. Really pick the right person. Try to. And try not to do it alone because it's not as fun.
No.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah. So in another life, I would like to experience, not this one, but another life, I'd like to experience of doing it again, but like with a partner that you get to make decisions together, that has your back when you have a rough day or you just need to disconnect. and can take kind of over sometimes, you know?
I see on Instagram like those couples and like the mom is like tired and this and that, and then the dad's like, it's okay, and like he takes the kids and he's got bath time and dinner and this, and I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
Or even like they like tell the kids like, do not bother mom, and they like talk the kids like, this is mom's time, she's gonna, or like, you know, they have a day, like it's really nice, it's really different.
Nice.
Yeah,
I wish I had that.
me too, both ways, personally.
In another life too. Like I used to, when she was younger, I would be like, oh, I wish I could like experience like a nice pregnancy, a calm one, and like, you know, a nice birth and like all the things. But now that, then I was like, no more kids, I'm good.
So there's a myth that to be a good mom, you pretty much have to like give everything up and like just give all of yourself, and that's the only way to be a good mom, right? And that's not true, right? You do prioritize your kids and they are pretty much your world when you have them, but you're still a mom. You're still a wife, right? If you're married, or a partner, you're still a woman, right?
Yeah.
You're still a friend, right? So you don't want to lose all the parts of yourselves, because all of those pieces and all of those relationships that you have make you a better human, and you're able to be a better example for your child, right?
Yes.
So you are the model example. So if you're living an overstimulated, exhausted, burnt out life, even if you're not trying to pass it on to your kid and you're not maybe yelling at them or whatever, they're seeing you exhausted and stressed and burnt out, and that's going to pass on to them in some way, right? They're either going to become the same, or they're going to completely desensitize and not feel anything, to not have to live through the stress that you dealt with, right? So it's super important to prioritize yourself. Like they say in airplanes, like you put your mask on first, even before your child.
Yeah.
Because now you have the time to make sure that they're good, and you're able to do more and help them out more. Same thing with parenting. You need to make sure that you are loving yourself, that you have time for yourself, that you have time to recharge, even as a single mom, and that you're able to put yourself in the best headspace so that you can be the best example for your child. So with that myth of like giving everything up and people pleasing and doing everything for everyone else except yourself and putting yourself last, do you want your child to model that?
No.
So then that means you can't model that, including with them, right? So you need to make sure that you're modeling the behavior that you want them to do. So if you're doing something, ask yourself, like, would I want my child to do this? Like saying,
that's a great, I feel like that's anything like when you're in like sketchy relationship, or said like, would I want my kid to be in this relationship? Would I want, like, that's such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna think twice about it.
It's gonna reframe everything.
Yes.
And like, let's say like saying yes to everything that you don't even want to do. Do you want your kid to feel that way and then they're like not even doing the things that they love? No. So then you need to model it so that your kid can see what it looks like, and that it's safe, and that you still have friends and you're still loved, even though sometimes you say no. So everything you do is like that. That's how I think of it. And we're constantly evolving, right? Because no matter how much you try, we're still human. We're not perfect. So there's something that's still going to go wrong, but if you can acknowledge that you did something wrong and grow from it and improve, there's value in that.
Yeah.
So self-love is going to show them how to love themselves. If you only love them, then they might grow up to think that love is only external, like with what they give to other people or what they get from other people, but it starts from within. So you have to love yourself first so that they can see that example and then be able to model the same thing for themselves.
Yeah, I feel like with Victoria, I didn't have, like, I kept her away from relationships, like even after when I started dating other people and stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't really put her in my relationships or have her around. I kept things separate because I was always scared of like bringing, I don't know, I felt like if I bring this guy around and then happen if we break up and then I have another guy and then I'm like, well, she's going to see me with all these guys and I don't want her to see me with all these. So I kind of kept my relationship separate from her, but I always felt like I would have liked to have like a good person that I could have modeled like a healthy relationship with before. Like that was another mom guilt of mine, that I didn't model a healthy, happy, stable relationship in front of her. But
you
even
also
now,
did
she's
not model the bad.
no, which
She
was
didn't
good.
see it, yes.
Yeah, thankfully, she didn't get to see those things either, which I'm happy about. But I also feel now, even though she's 23 and she's older, but she does live with me, that she's now seeing that. Like, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's good. I don't know. I don't think it's ever too late. Because I feel
Yeah.
like now she even gets to see, a nice, healthy, stable relationship. And a lot of times she's like, get a room, guys. And I'm like, this whole house is my room. That's our comment back to her. But she like laughs about it and she sees that I'm happy, and I feel like that's good for her.
Yeah.
So I am happy that at some point at least she got to see it, and that she has I don't know, Paul's such a nice, good person, and she really cares about him, which I like to see as well. Like, she's always like, oh, I love you too, Paul, and this, and I'm like, oh, I feel like it wasn't too late.
Yeah.
I
was always really particular about that too, because I feel like they've already had the heartbreak of losing the dad or not having the dad there, that I didn't want her to really connect with someone unless it was going to be more serious. So I was very particular about that. I think that's important, and
I do.
You don't know, dating is hard, and it's, if you've ever dated, it is horrible, right? It's I don't even know where to start. It's terrible. So why would you want to put your kid through that? There's ups, there's downs, you're not even sure. They become another person, they end up being married, all these different things.
They end up being married. Yes.
There's a lot of different things. And I just think, just wait until you have gotten to know this person better, and you're a little bit more sure of who they are as a person. Because even if it doesn't work out, if they're a good human, that's okay. There is still going to be the loss of losing this person that they connect with, but it wouldn't be that many people.
Yeah.
And they're at least a good example and a good person. But be really particular about who your kids meet. Each person
bring around them
impacts them, even if you don't think so. Each person impacts it, influences them in different ways.
It's hard being a mom. It's so hard. So remember, they're human, you're human, you're all going through an experience together. They're learning from you, you're learning from them, and it's a process. It takes time. There's no perfect mom. I feel like we put so much emphasis on perfectionism, and we also now, when I had Victoria, there was no Instagram, there was none of that, right? But now on Instagram, you see these perfect moms, and they only show you all the good things that are happening, but they don't show you the messy parts that are really behind the scenes and what they actually go through. And you have to remember that what you're seeing is just what they want to show you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the whole reality. So you have to take that into perspective. You're doing your best, and as long as you're doing your best, that's all that matters. Just keep trying. How they interpret things might not always be how you expected them to, and that's okay. You're gonna grow, you're gonna learn. You have to release those perfect mom standards, and just go with it. Keep trying new things. If things aren't, if you do it one way and it doesn't work out, and you're like, oh, well, probably shouldn't have done that. You can do it. You can change it. There's still time.
You're showing them in that you could grow from a mistake, and that it's okay. A mistake is not the end of the world. You learn and you grow.
Yeah, you're growing with them, right? That's the whole point, and that's the whole purpose, is you're growing with them. They're learning from you, you're learning from them. And you're teaching them along the way, and as long as you're trying your best to do a good job, I think that's what's important.
Yes.
It's hard work.
And if you have the opportunity and your kids, you're still raising them, right? I mean, you always are, but if they're in your space even more, and you have the opportunity, think about the things you need to heal within yourself so that you can start there. And just by you healing it, that's going to ripple down to them, right? And then taking all of the things that we're learning now as society with kids and really instilling confidence in them, and
Such a
just
big thing.
pouring into them with positive things, right? And if they do something wrong, you can still tell them they did it wrong, but that doesn't say anything about them. That's okay. We're just going to learn from this, and there's a better way. Let's work on that one.
Yeah.
And I think somebody said the world is already gonna tear you down. Like, why would you do that to yourself? You know? So hype them up. Be like their number one fan, their hype person. Like, help them think bigger. You know, if they think they can't do something, why not? Let's try. Let's break it down. Like, let's explore it. Like, you could have fun, try it out, and it might not be what you like, and then you can pivot. That's okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, that worthiness piece is huge too. Like, but you have to start with you, right? You can't teach it and not do it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Breaking those generational traumas.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, because I feel like, right, I've spoken about it before. I inherited a lot of body image issues, and that was passed down from my family, from my parents, right? So they were very big on looks, looking a certain way, exercising. And I do love to exercise, but I used to exercise because I wanted to be skinny. I wanted to be tiny, and I'm Cuban and I have curves, and there is no way that I'm ever going to be a pencil. It's just not going to happen. I have curves, like, it's just not. But I tried so hard. I did so many things to like try to be skinny, and I didn't eat, and I would go on like fast and cleanse and this and that. Like, I did all the things, and I was never happy with my body, and I was always critiquing myself. And then what happened? I passed that on. And I passed that on with steroids, because she became even worse than me. And to the point where that's where the therapy and everything came into play, because, you know, she was starving herself and not eating, and she became like a pencil, and it was really bad, and we had to get her help for this. And
and it didn't really come necessarily from you. I think most of it came from you just being.
Yeah.
Not you necessarily telling her things.
No, yeah.
But she hears how you do that, so she thinks she should do the same, you know?
Yes, it was a lot. Oh, it was terrible. And, you know, in therapy, that's where I learned a lot of things, and I had to really come to terms with the part that I played in all of this. And I apologized, and I was like, wow, like, I didn't expect that to happen, because I feel like, you know, I got things from my parents where they would always be like, oh, you know, oh, my legs are this, or my body's this, and then they would tell me, oh, you're getting big, oh, you need to exercise, oh, you should, you know, be careful what you eat, and then I would start, so then it was like, okay, I passed that on, and I wouldn't necessarily like tell Victoria not to eat, obviously, but I would always critique my body and say different things, and now, okay, this caused her all these issues. And I remember after that, when I found out, okay, I did this, I need to fix this, and I need to be better about myself and like how I feel about myself. So I would pass by a mirror and I would be like, I look good today. I look so good. Like, oh, and I would just like pick parts of my, I would be like, oh, my legs look really nice in these, don't I? And like little by little, even though I was still struggling with my own body image issues, I feel like little by little, those things have helped me. And now I exercise because I really do like to, but it's not for aesthetics. It's not because I want to be penciled. I just want to be strong. And it really does make me feel good mentally. I feel like I clear a lot of things out as I work out, and it just makes me feel good. But I used to be for different reasons. So I feel like helping her, coming to terms with all that and everything, even though it really hurt me and it hurt her, and I felt really, you know, bad for what I put her through, she taught me.
Yeah.
You know, I learned so much from her at that point. And I feel like other reasons why I've become a better mom as I've gotten older, even though she's 23, she's still teaching me lessons. And those lessons, I'm hoping now that, you know, if she were to have children one day, that generational trauma is broken. Like, it's not going to continue on.
And if you're Hispanic, I know you can relate, because I feel like most of our Hispanic parents are like this.
I mean, Mom, if you're watching, I am 42 years old, and my mother will still tell me, oh, good job, you haven't gained more weight. It doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form, but I love you.
Yeah.
I still love you. But
so in your case, I feel like it blew up a little bit and you were like forced to fix it, right?
Yeah.
But in other people, you may not have that scenario where it's as a parent with your child, but it's still a thing if they don't feel like they look good in anything, if they are covering up and things like that. So maybe you even do it with them. Like, hey, like I want to heal this about myself. Let's do this together. It's just such a
It is.
such a
And
big
I
thing.
think it's brought us so much closer together because, she was really struggling, and I think when I saw her struggling, and then we were we were going apart in different ways, and this whole experience, as hard as it was, and as much as traumatizing, because you already have mom guilt, and now the mom guilt's
Double down.
yeah, because now you're like, man, I really did mess her up. I was just thinking I did, but now it's true, I did. That was hard to consume. But I can laugh about it because I feel like now, things are good and it brought us closer together, and she's in a much better place, and it makes you feel good to know that, okay, we healed from that, we grew from that, she's in a better place, I'm in a better place, and things are working out. So
My response now to the parents when they say that, my new response is, it's 2025. We're loving our bodies now. We don't say that. It doesn't mean that we don't sometimes think things, but I'm trying to reframe the conversation and not say those things about myself. So sometimes that goes the other way too. Hopefully parents pick up on it at some point and they're able to start their healing, even if late. It's never late unless you're not here anymore to work on it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about teens, right? Teenage age is such a difficult time for everybody. I used to say, after I realized it, right? In the moment, I feel like I wish I could have handled it differently, but I was not equipped. I was a kid that barely just made it out of teenage years. But I feel like teenagers, especially women or girls, it's like if you have the hormonal changes, picture hormonal changes of period, birth, and premenopause all at once, right? That's what I think they're going through.
Yes.
And it feels so exaggerated because they're new. So they haven't had time to deal with these emotions, to understand what they are, to figure out where to sort them, where to put them, how to manage them. They're just coming at them all at once, and they were simpler before, and now it's like chaos. Yeah. So they're going through a lot, and they don't often know how to verbalize it. Sometimes we don't even know how to verbalize it, and we're adults. So they just don't know how to verbalize it. It's a lot of emotional ups and downs. They're really getting into those ages where they're forming who they are, but they still have so much pressure from the outside world and from peers and things like that. So it's just a lot going on for them, right? So this age is really about being compassionate, about being understanding, about listening.
I was just going to say, listening is such a big one.
Yeah.
I feel really listening to them, because it's very easy to get into the day-to-day. You're working, you have a million things going on, you're running around, you're trying to put food on the table, you got to get dinner down, you got to, get things ready for bed, and you have to get ready for work the next day. But really sitting down and listening to them is so big.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they just need someone to talk to, but if you're too busy, they don't even want to bother you.
Yeah, and also it's in your reaction too. So if they say something and you fly off the handle, then they're like, oh,
never mind, not to do that. I'm not going to tell them that story.
Yeah. So you're switching almost from like a manager or that guy to more like a mentor. Because when they're little, you have a little bit more control. You don't want them jumping off a ledge or walking off the street. Now it's not those little things. Now it's more like a mentorship. Yeah. And with the listening, I remember. So when my daughter was younger, I think I really tried to pretend to be the perfect, not necessarily parent, but person. So I didn't share any flaws.
Yeah, we were perfect. We didn't do anything wrong, nothing.
My school years, I was amazing.
I was a great student, straight A's.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school and then went to college. Yeah. So I didn't say that, and I didn't say the people that I was friends with when I was a teenager. I just all the good examples because I thought that was the best way to guide her to be the best human. And I think that is, when they're little, maybe that is okay. I'm not even sure. But when she got a little bit older and early teenage years, I think I started opening up more, and it brought us closer together. Yeah. Because she saw me more human. I think before she saw me this perfect person that I can't live up to, and I can't even relate to.
Yeah.
Because she does nothing wrong. She never did anything wrong when she was a
And
kid.
anything I do, she's going to criticize because I'm not perfect like
yes,
her.
and here I am doing all these things, and she never did that. So being open with her and sharing a little bit about that, like, you know, a little bit at a time, really brought us closer together. And then they start sharing more. And I'm not going to tell you it's not going to be cringy, because there's times where you're like, this is a lot, or you don't necessarily want to hear certain things, but every time in my head I was like, just be calm. I am so grateful that she's telling me.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that she feels safe to tell me. I can just be calm. I can give advice, but it's more like a friend, not flipping out, not going to ground her. It's more like, okay, well, how was that? And like, what about this? And you're giving kind of like options.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different, but it really helped us connect a lot more and become closer. And she says she tells me everything. She's already told me everything she's done, and now like she feels like she's not hiding anything, when she was younger. So that relationship with your kids and really solidifying it is going to be huge in how they do, because you don't want them doing things in secret.
No,
like how you were doing, right?
Yeah, you don't want that.
You want them.
I felt like I couldn't say anything to my parents because I knew that they were going to judge me or criticize me or say something. So I feel like they never knew who I really was growing up. And I honestly wasn't bad. Like, obviously I got myself into a terrible relationship, but I wasn't doing anything bad. Even going to like a friend's house or doing something, like sometimes they would be like, oh, there's going to be guys there. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Like, we're just friends.
Yeah.
And it would be like stupid things like that I would have to lie about because I didn't want them thinking something else, or they would tell me I couldn't go when I wasn't even doing anything.
But I feel like sometimes if you're so strict, then you don't tell them that.
Yes.
And then that habit continues. And
of course, then you don't tell them anything.
Right. And then when it gets scary and you need your person, which ideally should be your parents, you don't feel like you can go safely without getting in trouble or things like that, or get the advice that you need.
Scared to say anything to them. So yes, I completely agree. Like, having those reactions is key to for them to feel like they can talk to you, feel like they can share, and it is going to get cringy and you're not going to want to know some of the things, but it's good to know them.
Yes.
Better to know than not know.
So, with those things, like sometimes you want to hold your tongue and just listen, right? It might not always require you to say something. Sometimes you just have to listen, and choosing your battles, right? Like, some things don't need consequences, right? Some things would just become a learning, like a lesson, and just really focusing on the stuff that's really important so that it doesn't become everything, because then that feels overwhelming when they're doing everything wrong, so really just focus on the things that are really important and let go some of the things as part of just the experience of becoming an adult and growing into yourself. Teaching them consequences, teaching them like, hey, these are the options with where you're at right now. Like, you could do this, what about this? But if you do this, this might happen. If you do this, this might happen. And as they get older, they start to make those decisions on their own. But if you can show them that there's options and what could happen from each one, they are in a better place to like make those decisions. And then just loving them wherever they are, even when they're not as lovable or they're a little bit like prickly, like people say, right?
They're not always likable. You're always gonna love them, but they're not always likable.
Yes.
I've learned that. I can say that I unconditionally love Victoria, but I can say that at points in our relationship, I did not like her. She was mean. She was a little mean, and I wanted to get away.
So I think that's what unconditional love is, right? And I think that mothers do that best usually, so deeply, that usually we become more of the punching bag, because I think it's safer. Like, you could, to a mom that really truly loves you, you can do whatever, and she may be mad at you, and she may, get a little bit of space, or she may not feel like you're very likable at that moment, but she's still going to love you, and if you need her, she's still going to be there, right?
Always.
That's unconditional love. Like, through all of the hard times, that's when you show it, not when everything is perfect and they're cute little kids. It's when they're going through the hard times. So know that if you're going through the hard times and you feel like they're not as likable and you need a little bit of like space sometimes and things like that, that's okay, but still be there for them when they need it. Still be the ear. Let them know you're there for whatever they need, and that's going to go a long way, right? So, and then the last thing on this piece, talk to other moms, and if you don't have them, because you were in our situation, now you have everything, right? Instagram, like get into mom groups or follow other moms that are real. You know, I think every mom has cried in the bathroom or the closet at some point.
Or sat in their car. I used to sit in my car and cry.
Yeah. Or hide for 5 minutes. You just needed 5
Oh my
minutes.
God! Or yeah, they'd be banging on the door. She's banging on the door, and I'm like, I just need 5 minutes in this bathroom. I just need 5 minutes.
And recently, we've had 2 friends that brought it up that were like, and they asked us genuinely, like feeling like if they were the only person and a bad mom.
Yes.
Like, have you ever felt like you didn't want to be around your child for a little bit? Like you needed a little bit of you time? Or have you felt like you didn't like them sometimes? And they felt so guilty in saying this.
They felt like terrible mothers.
And we're like, yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not alone, but if you never share or you don't have people that you can be safe and open like that with, you're not going to realize that it's okay. It's human. It's part of it. It's not anything wrong about you. Like, we've all are going through the
You're
same
still
things.
a great mom.
Yes.
That doesn't take anything away from you.
If you're trying, you're getting better, you love your child, and you try to do what's best for them, even if you don't always get it right, you're a great mom.
Yes. So remember that. You are doing better than you think you are. Prioritize your well-being because it is important in order to be, in order to be truly the best version of yourself, and in order to model that to them, you have to give yourself space, give yourself time, do what's best for you. If you need a massage, go get a massage. If you need a spa day, if you need a girls' weekend, if you just need to go out with your husband or your significant other and spend a weekend away, as long as you leave them with someone responsible, go do your thing, because I feel like that's going to make you better for them as well. So stop criticizing yourself so much. Stop, getting down on yourself if you feel like you're not doing the best, or if you're having an off day. It's normal. You're doing a great job.
Think of, I just thought of, with the mom thing, we have daughters, right? So think about like later on, when and if they have kids. If they were going through these things, what would you tell them?
Yeah.
Like how would you tell them? What would you tell them? And then just tell
It's
yourself
just like
those
that
things.
episode, like when you say, like, how would you speak to your friend?
Yeah.
Like if they came to you with an issue, how would you speak to them?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with your kids. Like what would you tell your kids? How would you speak to them? You're gonna give them love. You're gonna, be supportive, and you're not gonna, bash them the way you bash yourself. So speak to yourself that way too. It's very important.
Absolutely.
So if you like this episode, or you know someone that can benefit from it, if you know another mom that is just kind of going through it, or thinks that maybe she's not doing the best job, please share this with her. Like our episode, share it, love it. And for the next episode, I forgot. So for our next episode, we're going to talk about dimming your light and not doing that, because you don't want to shrink yourself for someone else. And how our first job is to love ourselves. And the more that we love ourselves, the more that we're able to love others and prioritize that. So until next time.
Your life, your rules, stay limitless.